You have an incredible memory. So does this happen like every day? You can look back 20 years or 28 years and think, yeah, this is what I was doing 28 years ago today.
If there are specific dates that I can recall, then yeah. Like for instance, today is the last day of, today 28 years ago was my last day of of grade 5 at Kincardine Township Tiverton Public School. And that was that was a very significant day because my teachers had implemented a buddy system, where I would have assigned buddies to go aside at recess, just to help improve on my social skills and whatever else there at the time. And so we were celebrating. It was a big celebration of that. When it was like the last day of classes and a celebration of grade 8 students graduating and moving on to high school, I had a really good day, and I was really, it was a really good day, and I was very much, I was taught to give some treats, and so we made some treats in the school kitchen, and these treats were going to be for my buddy system participants. And so I remember being taught by the teacher's aide, who was in charge at the time, to give them all of the cookies and treats and whatever to all of my buddy system participants first, and to serve myself last.
Yeah.
And that's what I was taught, and that's a
that was sort of a life lesson for you, I guess. It was definitely stuck with you. Yeah.
It was absolutely a life lesson, and I'm glad I learned that life lesson. Because it still holds true to this day. I always like to serve other people first, and then I can serve myself last, and it's just a courtesy. It's just something which I like to do, and it's the way it is, and and they sacrifice their time and trouble to participate in the buddy system program, which took effect in the spring of 1989, and I was glad. I would do that kind of thing over again. I wouldn't mind something like that over again, even though at the time it didn't make all that much sense.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. So that must be kind of hard, challenging because you're kind of living 2 days at the same time. So you're remembering this event that was a really meaningful day for you 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And now today, 28 years later, we're doing a video of you for the first time.
Yeah.
Is it? So in another 28 years, you're going to kind of be living out 3 days because you have the present, the past, and then the past 28 years, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess that'll be. I guess that'll kind of turn out that way. Yeah.
That's interesting. Your head must be pretty busy, man. You're thinking about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that hard, really. I mean, it's no different than when you have than before I turned 28.
Yeah.
When I had remembered stuff from less, from a much sooner time than that. Of course, I can only do it at this stage of my life. I can't do it when I'm a lot younger. I mean, like when I was like 18 years old, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not going to remember stuff from 28 years ago because I wasn't born 28 years before 1997.
Yeah.
Because that would have been 1969. That would have been like when the Beatles and that were popular and that kind of thing, and when there was like the lunar landing. I mean, I still had some. I mean, before I turned 28, I remember some stuff that I would sometimes think back to 28 years ago. Like for instance, in 2003, it was November 2003. I kind of had an idea of what happened in 1975 with the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, off of Lake Huron, and that kind of thing. So now we're driving towards Inverhuron, and now we're getting into. Now we're really getting into Matchier Alley. We're going to go past the Bruce Power site. That's a place I frequently have gone to as well. Going to and from past the Bruce Power plant. So right now we're heading towards Inverhuron. It's kind of a dreary day today, sort of. I'm surprised it's not going to be raining. Do you remember weather from the past? I think I do remember what the weather was like today. I think it was. It was also a bit of a dreary day today in 1989. So I guess looking at it today, also, this kind of dreariness, it's kind of, looks exactly the same, which makes it even more special because now you're getting the exact same weather. Because in 1984, when I went down to pick my grandmother up from the airport, and in 2012 when I went on the matching year trip, exactly 28 years to that day, it was a sunny day also, and the weather was just almost exactly the same, pretty much, and it was really a good thing.
So, Mike, you have all types of memories, right? You remember facts, but you also have sense memories. You remember sort of what the weather was like, also how you were feeling.
Sometimes I remember sometimes I remember the weather. What the weather was like on a particular time. In 2015, I remember it's June 19th, and there were some massive thunderstorms that happened that night, and it was the night before. It was the night before we went and left towards Kingston to visit some friends of my father's. So now we're turning onto a road, 40. Oh, please don't remind me. I'm going to be turning 40 on January 1st. Yeah.
That's a big one, man. Well, it's a big one for... I guess it's not a multiple of 28, but it's a big one for most people. Are you going to celebrate?
I'll still be celebrating. 40 is a pretty big number, too. Everybody goes on about being 40.
Do you feel like telling Patrick that story right now about the matching significance of why you went to Toronto a couple of weeks ago?
Well, this was the first time Skydome movement for the first time. Are you sure?
Am I sure? Don't we want to... I thought Victoria was the one, but we're going to try one further down. We can go all the way across here, right?
Yeah, I think we should have turned on the first
Albert?
one. We turned on, yeah.
Okay, no problem. You know better than me, I think, around here, Mike.
Yeah.
I said my sister lived around here, but I don't know it very well.
Mm-hmm.
So about 28 years ago, the Skydome opened for the first time.
Yeah, and that was a really that was a big that was a big event on June the 3rd. So June 3rd, 1989, Skydome opened for the first time ever, and I went to see the Toronto Blue Jays on June 3rd, 2017, playing the New York Yankees. Yeah, so
How'd that game go?
The Jays lost, but that isn't why I went to see the Skydome. I think that it was a big milestone event, a very huge milestone event, going down there and to see the game and and to be at the Skydome and to sit in the Skydome on the matching year anniversary of when it opened to the public, and that was that really was a special thing, and I'm glad I am absolutely glad I went. It was. It was the big thing, to be able to do that. Not to mention staying in the hotel that night.
Are you a big baseball fan as well, then?
Well, I'm just learning about baseball this year because there were a lot of baseball-based themes that took place in 1989. That happened. The Field of Dreams movie was released that year, and it's all about baseball and and all the baseball greats over the years. So I mean, and if you've watched that movie, you would know what I'm sort of talking about there.
Yeah.
And then there was of course Skydome opening for the first time, and that's all like the Blue Jays baseball, and then there's the big San Francisco earthquake in September. Of course, we all remember that, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't either, actually.
Well, I remember hearing about the huge earthquake that took place, and it happened right in the middle of a ball game when the San Francisco Giants were playing, and there was like live coverage, and just in the middle of the game, there was like a huge earthquake. So one thing I'm glad I have done this year is learning all that there is about baseball and all the rules, how to hit a home run and
there's a lot of rules, isn't there?
Yeah, and what counts as a ball, what counts as a strike, what counts as
and all the different types of pitches. Do you know what movie I think you'd like? I think it's called Moneyball, and it's with Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt, and it's about a guy that comes and he takes this losing baseball team